Mama, I Want to Sing, the longest running black off-Broadway musical in the history of American theater. Mama ran for 8 years off-Broadway in New York, 2,500 performances, 4 years on tour across the USA, 9 tours to Japan. Mama has played in Germany, Austria, Italy, Switzerland, and on the West End of London with great success.
Keep your minds on Jesus. Oh, hallelujah. But keep your eyes on me.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is R. Joshua Reynolds. With the creator of Mama I Want to Sing, the writer, the composer, and legend in the music world, Miss Vi Higgensen. How are you doing this evening, Miss Higgensen?
Hi, what a joy to be with you tonight.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm going to get started by reading a little bit about you, and then we're going to get right into our conversation. So, Vi Higginson, noted author, playwright, radio, and TV personality, has garnered an excellent reputation and won many awards for providing high-quality products and services to African-American audiences. After a decade of being behind the microphone and on major New York stations, WBLS FM, WWRL, and WRKS, Vi published and edited Unique New York, a lifestyles magazine designed for African Americans and tourists. In 1983, Vi co-wrote and produced and directed the classic Black gospel musical Mama I Want to Sing, which ran for 8 years and 2,200 performances at the off-Broadway Heckscher Theater in East Harlem. In March 1986, Mama began a national tour of the USA, playing 2 consecutive years throughout major cities such as Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Washington. International tours included Austria, Japan, Germany, Greece, Italy, Switzerland, and Yugoslavia. Mama also played for 6 months on the West End of London. In March 1988, Vi co-produced Joe Turner's Come and Gone by August Wilson on Broadway. In 2002, Vi was ordained as an interfaith minister. Led by her passion for the sounds and music she grew up hearing, Vi conceived and created Alive, which documents the sounds, music, and stories of our Black American musical landscape. Vi continues to write and produce original work as the executive director of the Emmy Award-winning Mama Foundation for the Arts in Harlem, New York. And so again, I welcome you, Miss Vi Higginson.
Thank you so much. When I hear that, I figured, oh my God, it seems like an awful long time. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, you're most welcome. And so the one of the words of the day that I want to put out there is influencer. And so these days we talk on social media a lot about influencers, and that's a buzzword. And I think that you were an influencer at least since the 1980s with Mama. So let's talk about it. Now, I know that you had studied fashion and wanted to be a buyer at one point. Now, how did you shift your career from fashion into the music world? What drove that for you?
Well, that's really funny. Yeah, I thought that the fashion industry was certainly a love, and I worked for department stores like Macy's and Alexander's and Gimbel. Some of those are not around anymore. But that was at a time when you know a woman and a Black woman didn't have a lot of advantages, and so you quickly saw that, okay, I'm going to be stuck in this for a while. At any rate, I started. I went to work for Ebony magazine, and I wanted to represent, African American women in beauty and in fashion, because I went to FIT, and there they taught you, you know, that which is currently appropriate. They taught you fashion. They taught you, style. And I kind of love that. So I made the transition from Ebony magazine to the radio station. And that's where the music came in. Of course, my father was a minister, so we grew up in the church and we were surrounded by music. And that was nothing extra. That was just part of everything.
Right.
Music was just part of everything.
Absolutely. Every part of a Black church experience, there's music. I mean, from the prayers to the communion to the passing out bulletins, everything. There's music everywhere in a Black church experience.
Yeah. Weddings, funerals,
right.
Everything had music.
Every aspect. And so what, I guess, what were your memories like? What kind of memories do you have growing up in the church? Were you in the choir? Did you direct the choir? What experiences did you have growing up in church?
Yeah, my mother could sing and my sisters and brothers could sing. And I'm the youngest of 4.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get the gift for singing. And they let me know that.
No.
They let me know. Wait, Ava. So my mother, they had a little singing group. And my first memory of singing is walking down the aisle in a church with my brothers and sisters in front of me. And I remember the song, and I don't know, I might have been 2, 3, or 4, I don't know. And the song was called Didn't It Rain? Children, oh my Lord, didn't it rain? And then my part was, I got to say, didn't it? And, and they're, oh, look at the little girl. She's so cute. Okay, that's and that was it.
Wow.
It was over after that. Somehow I had great appreciation for the music, but I couldn't execute it as well as so many other members of the family and other church members. So I decided I better not keep that up.
Wow. And what's amazing about that is now, for the past couple of years, I'll call it, you've written and been an influencer in the musical world. And so let's talk a little bit about Mama, I Want to Sing. What was the inspiration for that, and how did that come to be?
Well, my oldest sister, Doris Troy, she was a big influence on me. She took me wherever she went, along with my mother, because, I was so much younger than the rest of them. I always say, they laugh at that, but I always say that. And Doris was extremely gifted in musicals. She won amateur night at the Apollo Theater very early on. Mm-hmm. And she became, she wrote a hit song called Just One Look. Mm-hmm. And that song took her all over the United States. And it took her to Europe. It took her to England. And she took me with her. Mm-hmm. And so on those trips, she would tell me stories about her memory and my father and the church. And when I got back home, they were so vivid because I didn't know these stories. So that was the inspiration for Mama, I Want to Sing. The inspiration comes from my sister, Doris Troy, and they called her Mama Soul all over Europe. Wow. Because her best friend was, he was the most amazing keyboard player. Billy Preston is his name.
Billy Preston? Like,
yes.
the one who played with Nat King Cole when he was about 10 years old? That Billy Preston?
Billy Preston, yeah, I didn't know so much about Nat King Cole, but he played with Ray Charles.
Yeah.
And he was known as the fifth Beatle.
Yep, I know he played with the Beatles.
But those were best friends. They were label mates. They were on the same label. And they wrote songs together. They sang songs together. They produced songs together. And they had a big influence on the Beatles. And that's how some of that soul that came out of there you know, they went to England, gave them some soul, and they came back and gave it to us in America.
Wow. So
That's
your
that's
so,
the story.
so your sister's best friend was Billy Preston.
Yes.
That's okay. That's amazing. Um, and
Yeah,
so
and they were both signed to the Apple label.
okay. Wow. That's absolutely amazing. And so how did you take your sister influenced you to write Mama? How did you take writing Mama and bring it to being a musical? Because you mentioned that you weren't necessarily given the musical gift of execution. How did you bring it from ideation to execution?
Well, I have to tell you that, you know, life has its ups and downs. You know, there's some good times and then it's not so good times. I had
Mm,
a big loss.
mm,
Sometimes creativity comes out of loss.
mm,
And I had a big loss. But before that, I was on a television show and there was a young man there and he had written a book about flying solo.
mm,
And I was on talking about, how good it was to be single. And his book was about flying solo, the art of living single. Anyway, he became my husband and the father of my child, and he was a writer. And so I told him the story of my family, and he said, "Man, that's too good. You got to write that down." I said, "I don't know how to do that." And he said, "I'll show you." And so he became the co-writer, co-producer, co-director. He had his master's degree in theater. I
okay.
hadn't done theater, I had done radio and
Wow.
publishing. So together we collaborated and we wrote music together. And we had a child who came out and said, "Mama, I want to sing." This story, you can't make it up. That's what happened.
Wow. Wow. And I've definitely heard your daughter sing before, and so I know that she definitely can sing. so um so you co-wrote it with your husband.
Yes.
And so after you co-wrote it, now again on Meet the Producers, we talk a little bit about production process and getting it from ideation to execution, and how you got it from you wrote it with him to actually getting it produced and got the show up and running. So what was that process like, and what did you have to do, and who did you have to pitch it to, and that type of thing? Like, what did you have to do to get it on the stage?
Well, I have to tell you, even that road was full of lumps and bumps and potholes. Um, I had worked with a woman who was on Family Matters, and she had a theater. She's the only Black person, the only person I knew in theater. And I took it to her, and she said, her name was Rosetta Limois, and she had something called the Amos Repertory Theater. And I showed her the script. She said, "If you let anybody else do this, I'll break your legs." And I thought, "Oh, okay, this sounds like a good thing." So we hired a music person and we hired a director. And so sometimes when you do that, if you don't collaborate properly,
Mm,
they will misinterpret what you have written.
mm,
And if you don't get a chance to correct it in time, you see the mistakes on the stage.
mm.
And when we got to see it, we went, "Oh no, this is not it." At
Wow.
any rate, what then happened was a big calamity. When we had producers come to look at the show, the music director ran off with the music. Oh yeah, we've had some bumps, baby. This don't think this road was
Whew.
paved with gold, because it's not. It is.
Oh my.
Oh my God! And I passed out. Bam! I could not believe we had worked so hard to get this done, and to have it end like this. I was on the floor. Anyway, we had to pay to get the music back, and then we just thought, "Oh well, this is over."
Mm,
This is oh, we tried. It didn't work. It wasn't good. Whatever. So then some years after that, I get this call from a young lady who said, I know you've been on the radio and I want you to help the students at Fordham University. And we're trying to do a fundraiser. And you know, I think you can help us. So that's when my husband said, well, maybe we can put on Mama, I Want to Sing at Fordham University in the snowstorm. But it was sold out and people, we did it ourselves. We directed it. We were able to execute the vision for what we thought the music should be and how we told the story of African American music, with the music coming from the church and going on the radio and then being a global experience. So that we did that. And the people seem to say, man, this is really good. And do you know who was in that show at that very first show? She was a little girl. She must have been about 12 or 13 years old. Tisha Campbell. Tisha Campbell was the first young girl in the show before Desiree Coleman Jackson. Yeah.
Wow.
And so then, of course, that helped her career. She went off to do lots of television shows and movies and still doing amazing things. Yeah. So so then that's when we thought, oh, wow, we got something here. So we took it downtown to people on Broadway and they just told us, are you kidding me? This is what? Nobody will pay to see anything like this. You don't have any pimps and hoes and hustlers and things blowing up in here. Nobody wants to see this. And I said, this is not that kind of story. This is not the kind of story. This is the story that I know about. This story I grew up with. So this is a story I want to tell. They say, well, you ain't gonna tell it down here.
Wow.
That's what Broadway said. Yeah. So anyway, so we had a choice. We could do it ourselves or not do it at all. So we took every last dime we had, which was stupid, but we tried it. I wouldn't advise that for anybody to do today, but we took all of our time and put our money where our mouth was to see if we had anything, to see if we could do it. And the first couple of months was really hard. You know, we thought, oh God, we made a mistake. They're going to turn off the light. We're going to be homeless. This is going to be terrible. But after a while, the word of mouth got out. Never mistake the power of the word of mouth. If you got a good product and people like it, they're going to tell somebody. And honey, that show, the buses began to come from Philadelphia, Washington, and they were lined up on Fifth Avenue, and it was amazing. So we had 2 shows on the weekend, a show on Friday, and they started to sell out. Wow. We ended up with 4 shows on Saturday, 11, 2, 5, and 8. Yeah, just like the old days at the Apollo. You know, the Apollo ran you some shows, you know. Ooh. So we had those shows. We had 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Thursday. We had we did 10 shows.
Wow.
Sold out for 8 years.
Wow.
And then
wow.
The bump in the road, the unexpected come crashing down. They say, get out. Get out. Your time is up. Get out of that theater. You're expired. It's over. And we just were devastated. So, you know, it's, you almost have to experience the process to understand that, you almost have to put your time, your love, and energy into things and see what it's going to turn out to be. We fought really hard. But, the principle still holds true. One door closes, another door opens. It really does.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So that's when they threw us out of that theater because the mayor at that time said, get them niggas off of Fifth Avenue.
Oh my.
So we got to get out. And we were the largest employers of Black entertainment talent 52 weeks a year than any other corporation in America. And we had to leave.
Wow.
And it was terrible. But then people who had seen us, they came from Japan. This is 1988. And they loved this show. And they took us to Japan. We were supposed to stay 4 weeks. We stayed 11 weeks in Japan. And we experienced Osaka, Fukuoka, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. We introduced the Japanese audience to gospel music. It was absolute. So it's almost like you had to leave something to get something. I don't know how to explain it all. But all I'm saying that is bumps in the road when you're doing this producing thing. You know, it's not always easy. And there's disparity in the arts. Please understand that. We talk about disparities in healthcare. We talk about disparities in Hollywood, but there's disparity in the arts. We're just in our infancy. And, you know, we talk about disparities in communication where you don't own the means, like the playing field becomes a little bit more level when you have the internet and social media. But when it comes down to owning your own theater or owning the space upon which you can operate, and let me be very clear, theater is not about theater. Theater is about real estate. If you don't have the real estate, you can't have the theater. It's just that simple. And you learn that early on. So, you know, it's almost like you have to find corners or nooks or crannies or somewhere where you can put on a show. So that's the part that's difficult. Yeah. That's the real estate is the difference, because we ain't got no problem with creativity or music or ideas or hard work. That's a given. That you know how to do. Wow. So those are some. You ask about producing and what does it take? You have to have space in order to operate. And then you have to have money in order to operate. Then you have to have advertising, promotion. There's so many things. Now we wear so many hats because what did we have? On the job training. We had to learn from scratch. And so that's why we were given the title as introducing this phase of African-American theater. When we started Mama I Want to Sing and went out on the road. Now, since Mama I Want to Sing, you need to know I've written 17 other shows. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And so, therefore, I would love somebody to give me a theater somewhere. We had a theater, we stayed there for 10 years. We took a building and we converted it, and it wasn't a theater, but we tried to make it work, and it did. But then, like everything else, your time expires. You get expired. That's another term for getting thrown out again. Wow. But that's where the understanding of the power of the arts. Yes. Politics of the arts. Indeed. The financing in the arts. Those are things you have to understand.
So a couple of follow-up questions to some of the things you mentioned. So one question is, what kept you going when you were met with some of the challenges? What kept you going and helped you keep pushing along?
Survival.
Okay.
The survival instinct. The fear of failure. Prayer. Hard work. Meditation. Surrounding yourself with talented people who just wanted to have a platform for their abilities. Just trying to have Black excellence.
Mm. Well, that's powerful. That's very powerful. And something else I want to ask you about um, is you mentioned you've written 17 other works, right?
Yeah.
What subject matters do you cover in some of those works? Can you tell us about any of those works?
Sure. I love to listen. We specialize in African American original musical theater.
Yes.
That's our joint,
Mm,
So we did, after Mama I Want to Sing, we did Sing Mama 2, which was a sequel, and then we did Born to Sing.
okay.
And we followed the story. And
Awesome.
then um after that, we wrote a show called Sing Harlem Sing,
Hmm.
where we just told the story of another way of telling our story musically, and the
Hmm.
contributions that African American musicians, and composers have made to the American musical landscape.
Mm,
And to want to celebrate that. That's what our music's are celebrations of creativity. That's how I see it. We wrote a show for young people called We Are the Musical. And baby, them children can sing. Ah, I love it. The amplification, the sound of the human voice.
yes.
That's
Yes.
the most, that's to me is where the magic is. I
Hmm.
come out, I got one foot in the old, I got another foot in the new, and everything that went in between. So you got a full understanding of whether you're going from, Sarah Vaughan, Lena Horne, Billie Holiday, right up to what you got now. Them girls didn't take off their clothes, by the way. Anyway, but that's, you know what I mean? We went from a time when, it was classy, it was kind of elegant, gowns and beaded gowns and hairdos and stuff.
Hmm.
I love that. That was kind of a romantic, optimistic time, yeah, in music.
Mm, wow. And it's clear
Oh,
that
I
oh,
wrote
go
this
ahead.
other show.
Yes.
You
Yes.
asked me about this other
Yes.
show. Oh, this show was bad to me. You fall in love with the work. I mean, that's why you do it, right?
Yes.
So this show was called Alive,
Hmm.
55 plus and Kicking.
Wow.
And what I did was, when we started auditioning people,
Hmm.
for the roles in Mama I Want to Sing, I was coming across these amazing people and talent, you
Mm,
know. And I said, well, I can't hire everybody,
right.
but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna write a show just for you. And I
Mm,
did. It was Alive and Kicking. And there, that show was about second chances. People who always wanted to sing and never had an opportunity.
hmm.
Nobody ever gave them a chance,
Mm,
so they ended up doing other things, some good things, some bad things.
hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
what happened.
Got you. Wow. Well, thank you. Thanks for going through some of your other works and other pieces. And I do want to transition to talking about the legacy of Mama I Want to Sing, and the legacy that you have created with the Mama Foundation. And so, what was the driving force behind the Mama Foundation and your program, Gospel for Teens?
Because as the years went on, we just celebrated the 35th anniversary of Mama I Want to Sing.
Wow.
So
Okay.
as the years went on, I mean, the show kept playing all over the world or wherever we go.
Hmm.
And then we would audition, and these kids were coming in and they couldn't even sing a song. They didn't know Amazing Grace, Precious Lord, This Little Light of Mine. They didn't know nothing. They coming in here
Wow.
singing, trying to be in the show, and
Hmm.
they didn't know the music. And I felt, well, listen, we can't have that.
Mm.
We thought we were in danger of losing an art form, because I see our music as art. I see
Yes.
gospel,
Yes.
jazz, R&B, pop, and hip hop. This is
Hmm.
art.
Yes.
And unless we treasure our art, we take that for granted. You can't take that for granted.
Mm.
So we thought, well, that was one motivation. The other motivation is because my daughter who said, Mama, I want to sing. We sent her to a musical school,
Mm-hmm.
and they're teaching her Bach and Beethoven, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that meant that she was that further away from her cultural roots. I wanted her to know what I knew musically.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody else really, I guess, did it. So that's when we started the Mama Foundation for the Arts.
Mm.
And we wanted to, well, first of all, what we did, and she is the inspiration for this. She is the total inspiration for this because I knew they weren't teaching it in school. Right. So I told her to get 12 of her friends from her high school. I think the school was Professional Performing Arts School or one of them schools. I can't remember right now. And she brought them in. I brought one of my music ministers of music in, and he knew all of it. He can take you from jazz to gospel, and he began to teach them. And we did it for like 6 weeks, and they begged us to keep it going. And that's how we did it. That's why we did it.
Well, I'm going to share a clip from a performance of your Gospel for Teens. It's from Verizon's How Sweet the Sound back in 2013. And I found this when I was doing a little bit of research for this conversation. And you know what? I'm going to let I'm actually going to play the whole thing. It's about 4 minutes. And I want our audiences to see exactly what Gospel for Teens and the Mama Foundation is doing.
Singing Go Down Moses, please welcome to the stage by Higgensen's Gospel for Teens. When Israel was in Egypt land, oh, pressed so hard they could not stand. When Israel was in Egypt land, oh, pressed so hard they could not stand. Why don't you tell them to Moses? Wait. Down in Egypt, tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Let them go.
Let my people, you must let them go. Pharaoh
So, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't usually share full clips. Um, I, I don't usually share full clips, but I had to share that full clip. And as a music nerd and someone who proudly comes from Black musical traditions, there's so many different aspects of Black musicianship and art and craft that is in that one performance. I mean, you have a spiritual essentially that has operatic qualities, and then how it shifts from an almost operatic performance to a shout session. And then back into it, and then with the musical theater aspect that is almost the show choir setup. So this particular, and I know I'm just really excited again after watching it again, but this particular arrangement is out of this world. And so one, I just had to show the entire clip because this is what you created. You created the Mom Foundation for the Arts, which created the space for this type of creativity to exist and to thrive. And the first question I have for you after watching that is, one, how does it make you feel to see that? I know that's from 7 years ago, but how does it make you feel to see that particular performance and know that your influence is what laid the foundation for that to exist?
Thank you for that. That performance is at Radio City Music Hall, and it was Verizon How Sweet the Sound, and it was a choir competition. And so therefore, we were going in there, we went in and played, there we go with Black excellence, we're going in there to win,
Right.
and there again, what I'm really struck by is the power of the talent on that stage, and coming together and presenting the material that way to say, we can do anything musically. We can do any, and that was the spirit of it and the sense of it. And we take you on the journey. Come on, let's go on this journey. We can go on from him to Pentecostal, where we can take you anywhere, anywhere
Right.
you want to go.
Right. I mean, you definitely heard Pentecostal, you heard Baptist, you heard Episcopal,
yes,
you heard a little Catholic. And so, all those things. And for me, what's really important to note, and especially, American Legacy Network and the American Legacy brand is about Black history. Right. And part of Black history is to acknowledge the influence and the impact that we've had on this world and in American culture. And music is clearly one of those things. And so in every field of music and every genre of music, Black people have existed and have heavily influenced the outcome of music in the way that it's produced and the way it's created. And that's very present specifically in that particular presentation and that arrangement of that piece.
And a lot of credit goes, to the altos, the sopranos and tenors, but it also goes to the keyboard player. All we had was a keyboard and a drummer on that. And to the choir director, Elijah Ahmad Lewis, and to my daughter, Noelle Higgensen Wydro. So, and they are the backbones and the leaders of that organization, and Noelle, stays in and teaches and trains the young people. And she's a product of the American Dramatic and Music Academy and Manhattan School of Music. So what she learned, she, kind of passes it on. And Elijah has gone on to do amazing things at Motown and Ain't Too Proud and, places like that. And our kids now, we let them know what is expected of them. And 87% of our young people go on to higher education and or careers in the performing arts. And I'm really, really, really proud that just to give young people who are musically talented. And part of the other reason why we started is they took the music out of the school. I mean, most of the inner city schools have no music at all. And so if you go around and you hear music, and some kids hear mathematical fractions and others hear, language, but there's this musical child who's being kind of lost, So when we pick them up and we bring them in, and mama means to nourish, encourage, and fine tune. And foundation means to educate, experience, and gain access to opportunity. Wow. So the idea is to gain access to opportunity in a field where we're incredibly gifted. So that's what our dedication, that's what our work at the Mama Foundation is really all about, is to providing opportunities and platforms for young people to express their talent. And now we've gone on to do something even more than that. Now that we are, the Mama Foundation is, this program itself is now 15 years old. And now we realize, after doing a number of studies and looking back over what has happened, we realize that we can take our young people to the next steps so that we can coach them in their educational interests, and we can provide opportunities for them both on stage and off stage in careers in the arts. And that's what this pandemic has done for us. We've partnered with Broadway producers, and with company managers, stage managers, and other people who, at the end of this process of training and getting exposed to what these careers are, it's going to result in some paid positions, because people are looking around and saying, because of Black Lives Matter, we don't have enough Black people. Where's the Black folks? So they may have some on stage, but there's none behind the scenes, or very few. So we hope to provide those opportunities, and have in fact done that over this time period.
That's amazing. And you speak about something I think is very important, especially for artists and performers to think about, is, one is paid opportunities. Do you, and the reason I say paid opportunities is because I am one who is an advocate for artists and believes that artists should be paid. Do you teach your students how to go about the business side of being a performer in addition to the art? Because obviously, again, we see this clip. I see your daughter's stories on Facebook and Instagram, and see her training students and some of the work that she does. In addition, so the technical side and the artistic side is definitely there. Are you also teaching on the business side and saying, here's how you go out and here's how you audition, and this is what you're worth?
Well, yes, we have classes in financial literacy. Okay. We have classes in life. We think that it's not enough to be talented. You have to be a whole human being to survive. We have enough history to show us what happens to people who are talented and who lose their way. So we try to make sure we want our young people to be financially mature. What immaturity financially means that you are living beyond your means. And so if you're living beyond your means, you're immature financially. You don't understand. You can't do that. And how that gets you in trouble. So yes, we try to provide as many master classes and guest speakers who come in to assist, as well as show people what careers behind the scenes in publishing and in music and in TV commercials and things like that. So yeah, we think the business side is very important. Wow. Now keep in mind, we're a school, we're not a church. So our idea is to teach, train, and employ young people in the arts.
Awesome. And so we saw the clip of the singing, and you've mentioned her a couple times, your daughter, who is an integral part of the Mama Foundation. Can you talk about kind of the importance of keeping it in the family, or being able to work with your daughter to continue the legacy that you started a few years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing and extremely gratifying um, to to have her do something that she loves, and to be able to explore all of her talent. She has a 5-octave range, so she hits notes, So and she's a gifted teacher, and she's a gifted administrator. So she runs the whole school in that operation. I mean, she does the casting, she knows every child's name and every child's abilities. She does the auditions. Everything is part of what she's learned as a producer
Mhm.
and as a director and as a performer and as a writer. So she, has on the job training.
Right.
She had a passport at 3 months old. I mean, so she's
Wow.
everywhere we went, she went. And so it's in the DNA as I see it, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So the Mama Foundation and this program would not exist without her.
mm,
Um, her actual musical training and her interest in young people's growth and development.
wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and it's obviously and it's definitely an American legacy that exists in an African American legacy that exists right there in Harlem in New York. And so before we continue and actually finish up with this conversation, I do want to tell our Facebook audience that if you do have any questions that you have for Ms. Higginson, please type them into the Facebook underneath the comment section. And so I will relay those um, prior to finishing up. Um, so my last question for you before we really wrap up is, what's next for Vi Higginson? What do you see in your future, and what are you looking forward to doing?
You know what? I'm looking forward to the Mama Foundation headquarters.
Mm,
So we can have a real headquarters where we can do all the things that we do in one location. Right now, we're located in 5 different places in order to just operate. Because where we are, it's fine. You need office space, you need performance space, you need classroom space, you need rehearsal space, you need space. So I'd
right.
like to have that all in one place. And
Hmm.
anybody got that place for me, come on, give it up. And that's so I see that happening, putting it all together so that people can come and see the creativity, to see the work. um, I also see us expanding into other artistic fields like movies and television, and other areas, and certainly recording, additional recordings and concerts and galas, and just more of what we do, and more and more and more.
Awesome. So remember, before we got on live, I told you that we're going to ask a question that is not directly related to the rest of the interview. So this is going to be a little fun part, just so we get to know Vi Higginson a little more. And so, Miss Higginson, what are your 5 favorite books that you've read?
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me tell you what I do, because my days are more busy than I like them to be. Um, the most recent book I read is one about uh, a friend of mine wrote, and it's uh, um, a revolution for a moral society, and it's written by Jacqueline Novogratz, and it's talking about what you can do to help build community. It's what she takes her vision overseas to Africa and other places to build where there are no bridges, where there's no Wi-Fi, where there's no sanitation, things like that. And it was really a moral revolution, something that we need to be more, involved with. I also like very much books about communications. How do you communicate effectively? And I also like a particular app that when I have a book that I can't seem to get full time, but I want to know what's in the book. And there's a place that I go and I can do 4 or 5 books at a time because they summarize the books and they tell you exactly what's in it. So I read books on leadership. I read books on communication. I read books on meditation and spirituality, things like that. That's what grabs my attention because I believe that the success or failure of any product, service, people, or idea is the ability to communicate effectively. So I think studying aspects of communications is an important aspect to success.
So we also do have a couple of questions that have come in from the audience on our Facebook page. The first one I'm going to pose as a question, but I'm really leading you a little bit. So one of the things we talked about at the beginning of our conversation was the fact that you are indeed an influencer. So, you influenced the landscape of music across the world in an international way. You've influenced young people, and we saw a performance for them. Has your show ever perhaps influenced a movie that may have starred Ciara a few years back? And what was the name of that movie, and what was that like for you?
Oh, that was hard. That was so hard. Oh, God. Oh, it was really, really, really hard for me. I ain't gonna lie. I just gotta tell you. I was happy to do a movie. I wanted to do it. I didn't know anything about the movie business. And, so there are a lot of, chefs in the kitchen when you do a movie. And so sometimes what you think doesn't happen,
Right.
And so Mama, I Want to Sing the movie. Yeah, it was a movie. I thought it was going to be a movie that went into the theater. And I thought that we would have all these great singers and everything. So yeah. There was a lot of people in that movie, though. There was a lot of stars in there. You had Ben Vereen, you had Patti LaBelle. Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of stars in there.
Yeah. Were you heavily involved in the process of the movie, like casting or the screenplay or anything like that?
I did not have as big a say as I would have liked to have had in the casting or in what ultimately ended up on the stage. I couldn't. No, I was not in control.
Okay, understood. Hollywood is a different place.
A whole
nother monster. I think we could probably speak for another hour on that, but we're going to continue to the next question we have from the audience. Marlene Carey has 2 questions. They're not necessarily related. So the first one is, she says, you look like you can cook. Can you cook? And if you do, and if you can and like to cook, what is your favorite dish to cook?
Okay, here we go. Now, here you go. There's kind of 2 things happening here. We have Mama's One Sauce for all foods at Whole Foods. You do know that, right? We created this product. And let me just tell you a quick backstory on the product. Our family has lived on the same block in Harlem for almost 100 years, right? Wow. And so my father died at an early age. So my mother had to turn the house into a rooming house. And people at that time came from all over. They came from the South, they came from the Caribbean, and they came from East India. And in a brownstone, you only have one kitchen. And so those people would want to cook their favorite recipe. Now they knew my mother was a widow and she got these 4 kids. So they'd come down there, they'd cook enough food for everybody. And then we'd all sit down and eat, and then we would sing. So that was my pretty much my history. I hope we don't run out of battery here. I think we got a little more time. So
Okay.
anyway, that was pretty much my history. I'd come home from school and my house would be full of these aromas and smells and spices and senses. And so we created Mama's One Sauce for all foods, which is now at Whole Foods in 40 stores across the country. It's a little bit of Harlem in a bottle. So
Wow.
that's my contribution to the food thing. I'm not a great cook like my mother was. I mean, I like to bake things, but when you put Mama's One Sauce on your food, that does it. You don't have to be a great cook. You just put somebody showed me a dish they made yesterday. Boy, they put that chicken in there, they put that sauce, and they showed me to finish it. I said, you better go ahead. Now, People Magazine, you see me getting excited, right? People
Yes.
Magazine voted Mama's One Sauce and Marcus Samuelson, celebrity chef from Red Rooster,
Wow.
recommended Mama's One Sauce as a holiday gift for 2020.
Wow.
So them sauces have been running out, and people have been ordering it and buying them online. So it's Mama's One Sauce for all foods. Now, a portion of the proceeds go right back to the Mama Foundation for the Arts because everybody attends for free.
Wow.
I refuse to charge young people to learn the history and culture of their music. So we do all kinds of things to make sure that we can support. So we need donations and we sell product to make sure that we can keep this program free.
Wow. Wow.
I
So
know you had more questions, though. Go ahead.
okay, wow. Yes, we have one more question. It's the same person actually who asked the question, Marlene Carey, who I know is actually in the culinary arts herself. The last question I'm going to ask before we close out is, she asked, what do you do to keep your skin so beautiful?
Woo-hoo. Well, let me tell you something. I'm gonna plug this thing. Is that okay? Give me a sec.
No problem.
Okay, I think we're good. Oh, one more second. Let me just make sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's really good. I'm old fashioned. We use Pond's cold cream to take off the makeup and Pond's moisturizer underneath the makeup. That's all I do.
You heard it here, for folks. Very simple beauty regimen here. So before we close out, I do want to again thank you so much for spending some time with American Legacy Network and showing how you are a living legend and sharing a little bit of your world with us. I do have to do a couple plugs, and the first plug is American Legacy Network has actually just launched a podcast that can be found on Spotify as well as Apple Music. And so Meet the Producers, the show that we're on right now, will actually be turned into a podcast and posted at some point in the future. I also want to make sure that I plug, and I will put this in the comment section of the video, Mama Foundation for the Arts. You can see the amazing impact the Mama Foundation for the Arts has had, not only on Harlem, not only on the 5 boroughs of New York, not only on the East Coast, not only on the United States, but on the world. And so there's a few ways that you can support that Ms. Higgensen has talked about. One is to actually go to the website and make a donation to contribute so that they can continue to do the amazing work that they do. But the other way to support is also to support the foundation and support your taste buds, because we just learned about it's called Mama's One Sauce, or what is it called?
Yeah, again? Mama's One Sauce for all foods at Whole Foods.
Right. So it's Mama's One Sauce for all foods at Whole Foods. So go to your local Whole Foods and know that you're supporting Black arts at Whole Foods by purchasing this sauce and putting it on your food. So Marlene, I'm very glad that you asked the question you asked, because you just opened up knowledge for us to support Mama Foundation for the Arts.
You got to get you some. You got to have some. We got to make sure you get some of that because it's so good. You can bake, you can stir fry, you can, barbecue. It goes on salads, fish, chicken, rice, spaghetti. That's why we call it one sauce for all foods. So anyway, so you just got to try it on everything. Experiment. That's what I say.
Wow.
And then tell me what you use it. Now I got to say thank you to you. Thank you for this opportunity to
Yes.
talk to you and to see you all grown up. And
Yes.
thank you for your family and your legacy, and for Debbie Daniels and your dad.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure. The magazine honored me one day, and it's a memory that's seared and that I cherish. It was just such a beautiful experience. I'm so grateful for what you do for America and for Black culture.
Thank you. It is our honor. So thank you so much. And with that, we're grateful for everyone who's tuned in to Meet the Producers featuring Vi Higgensen. Make sure, if you have not subscribed to American Legacy Network yet, to visit AmericanLegacyNetwork.tv and subscribe. And again, I'm going to post the link to Mama Foundation for the Arts so that you can support this wonderful organization and the continuation of Black musical arts.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
And if you have a musical child, send them to us. We'll nourish, encourage, and fine-tune them for you.